You ever wonder why that one person still pops up in your head, even after years? You told yourself it was over, you blocked them, you moved on, but deep down, something still lingers. Why? And why does it hurt like it's still fresh? We all think time heals everything, but here's the truth. Some people never really leave you. Not because you're weak, but because you never understood what was really going on inside. Today, we're going to talk about why moving on is not what you think it is, and why sometimes it's actually impossible. Not just from people, but from versions of yourself that still haunt you. You meet someone. It feels big, real. Maybe the first time you ever felt truly alive around someone. You gave your best, you sacrificed. Maybe they did too. Then it ends, harshly, quietly. Or maybe it just fades. And you do what everyone does. You try to move on. You distract yourself. Maybe jump into another relationship. Travel, work harder, get busier, delete pictures, erase messages. You tell yourself it's done. But then, you hear a song, or smell something familiar, or just wake up feeling hollow, and it all comes back. You ask, why? Why can't I let go? Why does it still hurt when I've done everything I could to move on? That's what we're diving into today, and to explain it, I want to tell you the story of someone who thought they had let go, but found out the hard way, that the mind doesn't work like that. Story 1. The Shadow of Her. Let's talk about Marcus. No, not Marcus Aurelius. Just Marcus, a regular guy. Stoicism helped him rebuild after a messy breakup. He followed the path, controlled his emotions, he journaled, he trained, he read Epictetus like it was scripture. He did everything right. Years passed. He dated other women. He even thought he was in love again. But one night, completely out of nowhere, he dreamt of her, the ex, and he woke up sweating, heart racing, not because he missed her, but because, in that dream, she told him something he didn't expect. I never left, and it shook him. Marcus thought he moved on, but what he really did was bury the version of himself that still loved her. He didn't let go. He just silenced that voice, covered it with productivity, and you can't heal what you refuse to hear. The Stoics never said to forget the past. They said to understand it, to look at it clearly, without anger or fantasy. But Marcus, he avoided it. He didn't accept what really happened. He just ran from it. So when she showed up in that dream, it wasn't about her. It was about him, the part of him that still felt unfinished. That's the thing about memory. It isn't in the past, it lives in you, right now. Story 2. She left, but he stayed. Now let me tell you about someone else. Jake. Jake dated this girl, Leah, for 5 years. First love. He proposed. She said yes. But 3 months before the wedding, she called it off. Said she wasn't ready. Said she didn't want the life they planned. Just walked away. Jake was destroyed. For 2 years he couldn't talk about her without breaking down. Then one day, he forced himself to stop thinking about her. Got a new job. Started lifting. Even tried therapy. He told himself, I'm moving on. She left. It's over. And it worked. For a while. But then, something strange happened. He got into a serious relationship again. And it started falling apart. Not because of her, but because he wasn't really there. He didn't trust, didn't open up. He kept sabotaging it without realizing. That's when he realized he didn't miss Leah. He missed who he was with her. He missed that version of himself, the open one, the one who still believed in forever. She left, but he stayed trapped in that moment. This is why moving on isn't always possible. Because you're not trying to forget them. You're trying to forget a version of yourself. And you can't do that. That part of you is still alive, still hurting, still waiting for you to understand. Stoic insight, Marcus Aurelius and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That doesn't mean forget the past. That doesn't mean force yourself to be over it. It means understand your mind. If the thought of someone still triggers you, it's not because they own you. It's because a part of your mind is still attached to what you lost. Not just the person, but the meaning they carried, the dream you had, the future you built in your head. And letting go of a person doesn't delete the meaning. You have to sit with it, understand it, let it teach you. That's the Stoic way, not to run from pain, but to face it so clearly that it loses its grip. Story 3. The woman who pretended to be okay. Sophie always smiled. Everyone thought she was strong. After her divorce, she said she was fine. She said she moved on. She dated, traveled, posted pictures with quotes like, "Everything happens for a reason." But every night, when no one was watching, she cried. Not because she missed him, but because she missed feeling safe. Because she didn't just lose a man. She lost the version of herself who believed love was unbreakable. One night, she admitted to herself, "I haven't moved on. I just got really good at pretending I did." That's the silent truth most people carry. They think moving on means feeling nothing. But sometimes healing means finally letting yourself feel what you've been avoiding. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were fearless when facing emotion. They didn't suppress. They processed. And that's what Sophie learned. It wasn't about forgetting him. It was about forgiving herself. Story 4. The man who couldn't love again. Liam was in his 30s, quiet guy, thoughtful, loyal. He fell in love once, just once, and it changed his whole life. They were together for 4 years. It wasn't perfect, but it was deep, real. The kind of love that makes you feel like you've finally found home. Then it ended. Not with betrayal, not with some dramatic blowout. Just life. Different paths, different needs. They cried, said goodbye, and Liam told himself something dangerous. That was my only chance at love. He never said it out loud, but it lived in his mind. So every time he met someone new, no matter how kind or beautiful they were, a part of him held back. A part of him compared. A part of him whispered, "It won't ever feel the same." Years went by. He stayed single. People told him he was picky, or that he had commitment issues. But that wasn't it. He wasn't afraid of falling in love again. He was afraid he already lived the best love he'd ever know, and nothing else would compare. Here's the thing. Sometimes what we struggle to move on from isn't even the person. It's the feeling that we had with them. That rare emotional safety. That connection that made us feel alive. We fear we'll never feel it again. The Stoics would ask, is this belief useful, or is it just comforting your ego? Because holding on to a perfect past keeps you chained to a fantasy, and Stoicism is all about seeing clearly. Liam's growth came when he stopped searching for that same feeling and started opening himself to new ones. Not copies, but different and just as meaningful, because the past isn't meant to be repeated. It's meant to be respected and released. Epictetus said, "When you are delighted with anything, be not too much delighted, but remember that it is on the verge of being taken from you." That sounds cold to some people, but it's not. It's clear-eyed love. It's learning to care deeply without clinging. When you say, "I can't move on," ask yourself, what are you really holding on to? The person? The feeling? The version of yourself that existed when they loved you? The Stoics teach that the only thing you truly possess is your own mind. Everything else, every person, every moment, every kiss, is borrowed. You can treasure it, but you can't own it. That's why the pain lasts, because we try to keep what life has already taken, and the more you resist reality, the more you suffer. Story 5. The Girl Who Needed Closure. Maya was tough, on the outside at least. She grew up with a single mom, learned to be independent fast, never really leaned on anyone. Then she met Daniel. He broke through all her walls, slowly, gently, made her feel seen in a way no one else ever had, and just when she let herself trust, he left. No warning, no explanation, just disappeared. For months, Maya spiraled. She couldn't focus, couldn't sleep. She wrote long letters she never sent. She replayed every memory, every conversation, trying to figure out what she did wrong. But the worst part wasn't the breakup. It was the silence, the lack of closure. Because in that silence, her mind filled the blanks with the worst possible stories. She thought, if I could just talk to him one more time, I could move on. But the truth? Even if he explained everything, she would still hurt. Because closure doesn't come from other people. It comes from facing what's inside you. The Stoics warned about this. They said, don't let your peace depend on someone else's decisions. You'll wait forever. Closure is a myth when you outsource it. Real closure comes when you say, I'll never fully understand what happened, but I will accept it. I'll sit with it. I'll grow from it. And I'll stop handing my power to a ghost. Maya never got her answers, but one day she stopped needing them. That's when she truly began to heal.
Stoic insight. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Seneca wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." He wasn't being negative, he was being honest. Life will break you open, it will leave bruises. But those bruises can become wisdom if you let them. Letting go doesn't mean pretending it didn't matter. It means accepting that it did, and still choosing to move forward. You don't have to forget them. You don't have to hate them. You just have to stop building a home in the past. Because you're still alive, still breathing, still becoming. And if you keep dragging their memory like a chain around your ankle, you'll miss everything that's meant for you now. The Stoic path is not about emotionless living. It's about intentional living. It's about feeling deeply, but choosing wisely. So why is moving on so damn hard? Because we were never taught how. We confuse forgetting with healing. We chase distraction instead of clarity. We wait for answers instead of facing ourselves. They thought they moved on, but they didn't. Because moving on isn't a finish line. It's a process, a practice, a choice you have to make every day. Some people will stay in your heart forever, not as wounds, but as reminders. Reminders of who you were, what you loved, and what you're still capable of becoming. That's the Stoic truth. You don't need closure from them. You need honesty with yourself. Here's the truth nobody tells you. You don't move on from people. You grow around the space they once filled. You build a bigger version of yourself that includes what happened, but no longer lets it define you. Moving on isn't deleting memories. It's understanding them. It's when you can think of them and smile, not because it didn't hurt, but because it taught you who you really are. Pain is a teacher. Loss is a mirror. If someone still lingers in your heart, ask yourself, what part of me did they touch that I haven't healed yet? They thought they moved on, but they didn't, because they skipped a step. They buried, distracted, replaced, denied. But healing isn't fast, it isn't clean, and it sure as hell isn't a straight line. You don't move on when you forget. You move on when you finally face the truth. When you stop pretending. When you forgive the version of yourself who didn't know better. When you stop waiting for closure from someone else and give it to yourself. That's what the Stoics meant. Not don't feel, but feel everything. and still keep your peace. If this helped you, watch the next video. You need it more than you know.